Hello, hello. Wow, so great to see everyone. Even in August, I know so many people are on vacation, and I just really appreciate everyone making time to be here. So, guys, I am so excited to have my dear friend Ariella Anouchi here with us on the program. My favorite part of this program is that I get to introduce my actual real life friends to the amazing and just all the amazing women around me that inspire me, and I get to introduce my real world friends from the physical world to our online community of women all over the world. In the book club last week, we were just discussing with Mayan that feeling of sometimes, being isolated, and a lot of people here are, spread all over the world and not necessarily in places where we have, like-minded people who are on similar journeys. And I feel like our group is more than a Torah lesson about women of valor. It's a chance to really connect with real women of valor. And it's just so profound for me because, kind of like how in creating these lessons, it's really helping me get to know our biblical matriarchs, our biblical heroines. I'm also actually getting to know my own friends better, because how often do you get to sit down with a friend that you've known for years and really go deep and really interview them? So I feel like this is just such a tremendous blessing. So it is my great joy and pleasure and honor to introduce all of you ladies to my dear friend, Ariella Anouchi. Ariella, where are you?
Hi, I'm over here.
Hey. So Tabitha, okay. Oh, perfect. Oh, this is a setup that I like. Yay. Okay, so I know you, Ariella, for as long as I can remember myself, because we grew up in the same town in Cleveland, and Ariella's mom was actually my kindergarten teacher. Ariella was 2 grades under me in grade school. And over the past decade, somehow our paths cross and overlap again and again. Sometimes we see more of each other, sometimes we see less of each other. But whenever I spend time with you, Ariella, I feel like no time has passed at all. And every conversation I learn and grow, we immediately like go straight to the jugular, like right going deep. There's no small talk, right? So and now Ariella, these are my dear friends from our program called Women of Valor. We come together every month to women from all over the world. We study every month a biblical heroine that relates to the ideas and themes of that month. And
Mm.
then that's in the first Sunday of the month. And then in the middle of the month, or somewhere in the middle of the month, we gather again together to meet someone who, uh, for me, embodies the values that we learn from a biblical heroine.
Mm.
So this is just very cool. So I'm so excited to introduce everyone to one another. Ariella, so now I'm going to give you a quick bio, make
I
you
just
feel a
have to
little bit
jump
uncomfortable.
in and say it's so nice. I'm scrolling through all the little um little pictures. Sometimes I forget
The
English
icons,
and
yeah.
Hebrew, and it's so nice to see so many beautiful smiling faces. Hi.
Right? From all over the world. It's super exciting. Sometimes in the chats, everyone will say where they're coming from. And it's just like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? It's so unbelievable it's like, from Zion come, the Torah will go forth. Just having Torah coming out of Israel to people from so many places in the world. It's really super exciting. So Ariella is a yoga teacher. I had the privilege of actually studying yoga with Ariella, and she is a yoga therapist, works with women one-on-one, healing pain and trauma and abuse. In addition, Ariella has her own brand of Torah, an entire approach to Torah that I don't know, Ariella, if you invented it, but it's the first time I heard it is when I heard it from you, embodied Torah. Is that a phrase that's like that's invented, or like me not invented? Are you like leading that, or is it something that pre-existed you?
I don't think it existed, but
Okay, so that's what I
it's a,
thought.
a somatic approach to Torah learning.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, so you'll explain to us what that means. But so Ariella, I had a feeling, has invented her own approach to Torah study and Torah education, working through the body. But I would say that your professional work is not like the only reason that we're here together. It's also and I think that your own work is also an outcome of a very profound personal, physical, and spiritual journey that that I think really has a lot to do with Rachel Imeinu, with Rachel. Um, and so warm welcome. But before I want to like jump into talking about our mama Rachel, um, so it's funny because I know you for so long and I've heard you use this term so many times. I don't actually know what embodied Torah means or what a somatic approach to Torah is. So before we learn in your special brand of Torah study, I actually I hope I'm not like, I mean, I imagine that everybody here with me is very curious, uh, curious to hear what that means.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great place to start. What is embodied Torah? So embodied Torah, I describe it as a felt, what is embodiment? Let's start with that. Embodiment is a felt experience. What does that mean? Right? So we have a tendency to intellectualize a lot of things. In our modern society, we are so brain centered, intellectually motivated and driven. And its studies show that the higher stress levels that we are experiencing, the more we exist here. And we know that the greatest distance is between the head and the heart, right? And so embodiment is not only intellectualizing everything that we're learning, but living it as a felt experience. So not just going through the motions. Okay, I intellectually know I'm supposed to say prayers, 3 times a day, and I intellectually know that I'm supposed to get ready for Shabbat. But what does that mean to get myself ready for Shabbat? What does that mean to be living in preparation for Shabbat? What does it mean? What does it feel like to stand in tefillah? And this approach came through my own journey, my own struggles, really, to be in my body. I was born with a rare genetic condition that caused a lot of challenges for me. Just to exist. um, and I knew from as long as I've known myself that I seem to function a little bit differently, and things that other people took for granted required tremendous effort on my end. And so I'm a really, really open person. Like you said, we go into conversations and I go straight. I don't like talking around things, and I apologize in advance if I share too much.
There's no such thing. We're all friends here.
Fabulous.
This is like all about sharing. Ladies, if you can't handle the truth, then this is you could run away now. But Ariella is going to lay the truth out as it is. So if you are weak of heart, as it says in this week's Torah portion, too weak to go into war, don't melt everyone else's heart. You just run away right now. But if no one's exiting, then that means that here I see we still have the same amount of participants. So that means everyone is
fabulous,
a courageous heart to hear all of your truth.
So for myself, my journey was, as a kid, I had difficulty with bowel movements, and things did not function properly for me like it seemed to function for everyone else around me. And I grew up being told that everyone's built a little bit differently and everyone has their own struggles. And I'm like, okay, so like everyone is out there struggling to figure out how to exist in their body. Everyone's struggling to navigate this existence in this world. And when I was in first grade, I got my first sitter. And I opened it up immediately. I just wanted to better understand, what is this existence? And I opened it up to Modeh, and I'm like, okay, Modeh, I am grateful. Lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, in front of the Lord, my King, shechazalta bi nishmati, that you returned to me my neshama, my soul. And I'm like, wait a minute, you returned it to me, so it wasn't with me. And I struggled with this concept of being a soul and being a body. And am I a soul or am I a body? And because my body wasn't working as a kid, I really rejected that. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to be this spiritual being and just totally focus on being connected to Hashem. And I'm going to talk to Hashem all the time because Neshama Shenatata Bi Torahi, he created me as a pure soul. And I very much connected to that. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. This body is wrong, but I'm totally pure and whole and beautiful just because I exist, right? And I spent a lot of my childhood with this distancing of the spirit and the body. And eventually it caught up with me that you need to be a spirit in a body. And that really came to fruition when I came to Israel. And the first few years were a big struggle for me, feeling close to Hashem, feeling far away from Hashem. And then I got very, very sick. The rare condition that I had, another aspect of it showed up, and I had these growths in my pelvic area, and went through surgeries and surgery after surgery, and then eventually the doctors are like, we can't do anything else for you. You have to learn how to live like this. And I'm like, this isn't living. This is just, you're drugged me up so that I don't feel anything, but this is not living. There has to be something else. Hashem, like, this can't be all that Hashem has in mind for me, for my life, that I just live this drugged existence just to not feel all the horrible things that my body is carrying. And once I came to that understanding, once I stopped looking for the doctors, looking for the next surgery to fix me, but really understood that I have to take ownership. I have to step into being in the driver's seat of my life. That's really when I understood that I really needed to work on this creating this harmonious relationship between my spirit and my body. And for me, that's what embodied Torah is. It's taking all this intellectual, I spent my entire life learning, right? We have a connection. We both learned in Migdal Oz also, right?
Yes, we learned in the same seminary. We really, I'm telling you, our paths cross so much. And when you say about like being up here, I'll say I've perhaps been accused a few times about being a little bit up here and not so much everywhere else, just like kind of living in my head and forgetting about the other parts of existence. And so I can relate with, I'm very curious to learn what you're like to learn from you because I definitely can relate with that. Yeah. So what would that look like when you're studying Torah? Like is it like exercising while you're learning Torah? Is it like dancing with the Torah?
Zoom out. What does it mean to learn Torah?
I don't know. I mean, right? I thought I knew, but now I'm questioning.
Right. So I grew up with all my role models were huge Torah scholars. I grew up with hearing Torah from Yael Ziegler and Shani Tarragon and Bracha Kron and Dara Unterberg. Like, these were Torah scholars. And I'm like, I want to learn all of Tanakh. I want to know it back and forth. I want to know all the chapters. I want to be able to quote all the scholars. My brain doesn't work like that. And what's fascinating is that modern science shows us the impact of our second brain, right? Our gut is now called the second brain, because if our gut is not working right, our brain is not available to process information. So all of my childhood, I was dealing with all of these gut issues, and my brain was literally just not available to be processing that information. And I was so distraught that, okay, every day, twice a day, the school is setting aside time for prayer. So I started to understand, like, this is a really important thing. Like, twice a day, every single day, we are dedicating time to prayer. And I can't read the words. My brain could not track. And I was devastated by this. And eventually I closed my eyes and I said, okay, I'm struggling to say these words, but everyone around me is saying these words. I'm just going to let that sound resonate within me. I'm going to immerse myself in this sound. I'm going to let their words sort of carry me. Don't worry, I eventually learned how to read. Right? I learned how to read. I learned how to process the information. but what happens when we immerse ourselves in the sound of Torah? 1 second.
Matanya.
Highlight Summertime.
That was a little piece of embodied Torah right there, right? Like actually getting a hug in the middle of learning.
Baruch Hashem. So when I was very, very sick and I was on all these medications, wait, no, I jumped. I learned how to read and I immersed myself in that learning, right? And that's always when I felt most alive. But then when I was on all these medications, I literally could not focus on the words. So sitting with text, which was so comforting to me, which always made me feel so close to Hashem and close to to all of Am Yisrael, and the land was no longer available to me. And I had to figure out how do I still stay connected? How do I feel connected to who I am? And I went back to the basics, right? I started off as a kid with Modeh Ani, right? And so an awareness that I'm grateful that there is this soul and this body that are meant to live, that are designed to be able to have the potential to live in harmony. And this soul that we have is pure, right? And then what's the next big prayer that we make sure to say on a regular basis? Shema, right? Every little kid, right? Before I put my son to sleep, we say Shema. We make sure to say it every day. Okay, so what is this concept of Shema? What am I? Okay, so I'm supposed to be hearing. How can I hear? Okay, there are other parts of my body that don't work really well. How can I amplify my hearing to be the most that it can be, right? And so I started playing around with that. What kind of tension am I holding? How can I open up my ears? What does it mean to open up my ears? And so I would tighten them. You can welcome to join me so I don't feel like a total weirdo. It's okay. I'm okay being a weirdo, right? So I can really be really, really tight, or I can open up. Oh, what happens when I start opening up? Ah, right? How much tension? Oh, suddenly I realize, oh, I carry a lot of tension in my jaw. Oh, I'm really, you can see my lines over here. I really go into my head, into my thoughts, right? So if I want to expand how I hear, I have to release tension from my jaw. And suddenly I'm releasing tension from my jaw, and different thoughts and memories come flooding up. And learn to breathe, learn to be with it, and create this opportunity for connection between the head and the heart, right? And the whole I'm so excited to be here. I can feel all of my thoughts jumping all over the place. So as I'm thinking, I'm like, I didn't say anything about the breath yet.
Wait. We'll get there. We'll get there. I see everyone is like, I see
Yeah.
Nancy is already telling us how amazing this is and straight from you. Are you guys so jealous of me that what cool friends I have? I feel like it's okay. Like I know it's in the 10 commandments not to be jealous, but I totally let you guys all like I'm giving you permission to just be like, yeah, I won't hold it against you if you guys are like, oh, she's so cool. Okay, so yes. Oh, wow. So I'm really getting a better understanding of so it's like when everything you're studying, you're kind of hearing it from the perspective of how do you experience that? How do you like open that up in your body?
Yeah. So I'll go back to the early chapters of my life in childhood when I was first understanding that there's this concept of a soul and a body, and being curious where the interplay is. I was determined to figure out where the soul actually exists in the body. I'm like, it has to be somewhere. I'm going to focus on that part of my body, and the rest of the parts that don't work well, I'm just going to forget about them. And my mom actually pointed out the connection between neshama and neshima, right? My mom, the kindergarten teacher, the Hebrew specialist, right? So we have neshama, which is soul, and neshima, which is breath. And so once I made that connection, I'm like, okay, well, what's happening with this? And trying to trace, where does my breath flow? Okay, I don't think that my soul is hanging out in my nose. Like, okay, so let's keep tracking that back. Okay, where it's kind of getting stuck in my throat, and I realize, oh, there's a lot of tension here, but I know it travels down into my lungs, right? And every time I started exploring where the neshama is, where the soul is sort of hiding out in the body, where's its headquarters, right? And I would spend I this is like before the internet was a thing, right? I didn't really have a lot of friends, so I spent hours. I would spend hours by myself just being curious, where does this breath flow? Where can I imagine it reaching? And I would encounter all sorts of different tension points in my body. I would encounter different thoughts and feelings and memories. Um, and 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 I remember encountering this choice. Do I choose to hold on to it, or do I choose to make space for Hashem's presence? And that's really what embodied Torah is, right? It's letting ourselves be connected to our breath, being connected to our soul, not as an intellectual concept, but a lived, felt experience. Can I really invite the consciousness, the experience of my soul in this vessel that Hashem gifted to me to be partners with him, right?
Wow.
Because the breath is this magical thing that, on the one hand, it happens totally automatically without us needing to think about it. Like, good design, God. Like, imagine we have to think about every single breath that we took. Like, good design. Thank you. But at the same time, when we do bring our awareness to it, we can totally manipulate our breath pretty easily, in fact. We can hold it, we can make it longer, we can make it shorter, right? And when we make those changes to our breath, we can imagine it in different parts of our body. We can make it more expansive or smaller. We can change the rhythm, and that totally changes the state of our nervous system, the hormones that flow through our body, the functionality of every muscle, every organ in our body. And embodied Torah for me is using Torah, the written Torah and the oral Torah, all of our traditions, as a path for this exploration of being at home as spiritual beings in physical bodies.
That's in a nutshell. Wow, that is so. See, like I've known you for so many years, and I've heard you use, but like I never really had like the time. We always kind of like kids climbing all over us. There,
Yep.
I never had the time to like, or the presence of mind to ask that, and that is so interesting. When you said about like the breath and the soul is so interesting, because kind of like your breath, like you can live your entire life with a soul and be completely unconscious of it and never actually try to connect with it, and you can live your entire life breathing without connecting to your breath. It's really like a muscle, like they're so connected to one another. That is so interesting. Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and I told you this in the conversation that we had before, before this. Sometimes the month will come by and I'll know exactly who my modern day person is. Like last month we studied the daughter of Pharaoh. Do you know Alana Kasovitz from David
Not yet.
Danielle? So, so I immediately knew I wanted to talk to Ilana because she does emergency foster care for babies. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's like a perfect modern day daughter of Paro. With Rachel, it wasn't obvious to me. I was going through all these people in my mind, and I have to tell you, you're incredibly rude because you kept bursting into my brain. And I'm like, no, I need to save Ariella for a different month because I had mentioned to you a while back that I really want to interview, but I kind of had you in mind for a different heroine. And I was like, okay, you're like you kept distracting me from trying to find the person that I'm supposed to interview this month. But since you wouldn't leave me alone in my imagination, I actually thought maybe something was wrong. So I called Ariella and I was like, are you okay? Because you keep like popping in my head. And then as we started talking and I mentioned that we were studying Rachel this month, she was like, oh my gosh, I love Rachel. I'm so connected. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I understand why you've been like an intrusive thought in my head. And I was so grateful to Hashem. Thank you once again for leading me to exactly the right person. And I enjoyed our conversation so much. I just knew that we had to like, I was like, okay, we're going to like go deep on this. And it's amazing because you immediately also connected, of course, to the month of Elul. And I hadn't even done the calculation that tonight was going to be the first night of Elul. So really, I felt I felt like Hashem was just carrying me. So, we had a lot of questions that we talked about in the context of Rachel Imeinu. But I think like the fundamental question that was kind of driving, that was kind of like the underlying engine of our study was, why is she so much our mother? When we were making the flyer, Tabitha insisted, I just said like, right, Rachel, right? Because not everybody speaks Hebrew. And she insisted on putting Rachel Imeinu. And I said, people don't know what Imeinu means. And it was like milking a dead cow. I could not get her to change this.
Go Tabitha.
She's like, she is Rachel, our mother. And that's that. And I'm like, but why really is she like so much like the mother when she's the least mothery of the mothers? Like she's barren. That's not very mothery. And then when she has children, she hardly has any time to raise Yosef. She has no time to mother Binyamin. And yet she's our mother, even though really like statistically odds are that like Leah is more our mother than Rachel. And I was thinking about when you read about our mothers, it's like a parent that in the real world, it's kind of like what you were talking about, everybody you knew was like their bodies were working. And then, it's like that is the theme of our matriarchs, that we think of kind of fertility as the default and infertility is the unusual situation. With our mothers, it's the opposite. Their bodies don't work until otherwise notified. Like they're the natural, like it's natural for them to be barren until Hashem opens their womb, and yet still they're fundamentally like the quintessential mothers for us. They're like the archetypal mothers for us. So I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, like where you connect with Rachel and like her character as a mother.
Well,
you're being a mother right now.
Yes. I reached behind me to pull this picture that I keep right next to my candles. The woman over here is my maternal grandmother. And her name was Rachel Leah.
Wow. Amazing.
Baruch Hashem. This is on her wedding day with her mother and her mother. So my maternal line.
Wow, that's your maternal line. That's amazing.
I feel very, very connected. I've always wondered, I'm like, that's such an interesting name, Rachel Leah, right? These two sisters that how could you put both of their names in one person, right? But the healing that they did through their prayer, through seeing one another, is deeply profound. And I think is that what makes Rachel Imeinu, right?
Yeah.
That longing, that deep longing for something, seeing what others have, and also being able to have enough humility to see what we have, right? I waited 9 years for this one's arrival. I went through many years of watching all of my friends have kids and being jealous, right? Being that heartbreak of wanting children and not being able to have children yet because of my health issues that I was navigating through. And for me, I know it was a process of leaning into the embodiment work, right? What is that act of motherhood that I'm missing out on? What is that nurturing quality that all of my friends have the opportunity to engage with that I'm not yet engaging with?
Mm.
And um, when we are stuck in jealousy, right? Jealousy is an energy that tightens us up. But what did Rachel do? Right?
That's exactly what we were studying.
Right? What did Rachel? She opened up. She opened up to her sister's pain. She opened up to this curiosity of wanting to experience motherhood even without yet being a mother.
Mm.
Right? How can I tap into, how can I connect to that energy of motherhood without yet being a mother? And I said I was going to overshare. So here we go.
That's exactly it. I love the
I
word
would
curiosity. I love when you use the word curiosity about it, because it's like, yeah, like that's exactly like the word I think that was lacking in our lesson. Like if I could go back in time, I would say, wow, that is exactly what she was having, this desire to feel this thing that she wasn't, like something had to open up, and she wasn't,
Yeah.
she was so curious, like how to do that and what it was going to be. Okay, yeah, sorry, I was interrupting your overshare.
Right? Not trying to experience it through her the shvachot, right? Through
Right.
servants, really, but really connecting to her own experience of that. And so I know for myself, I would spend time standing in my kitchen. I'm gonna stand up and do this. And I would literally hold myself, right? Put one hand under my heart and one hand around here. And I would rock like I was holding a baby, but I was holding my own inner child, and all that calming and nurturing energy that I was watching my friends engaging with. It's not just nurturing the baby. We're holding and nurturing our own inner child, our own unhealed parts of ourselves. And there's something very powerful and expansive that takes place when we allow ourselves to engage with that aspect of motherhood even before we actually become mothers, right? And so
Wow.
Rachel, I think she's Imeinu because she watched that, she yearned for it in a very, very different way than just having it right away, but from a place of humility, of eventually getting to the place of recognizing her own sister's pain, and they can both be in pain without it negating each other.
Mm.
Right? Sometimes, well, things are so challenging for me, nobody could possibly understand, and nobody has it as bad as me. No, it's different flavors.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I really felt. That's what I really felt like, that I was just like, that I was connecting to so much with like Rachel and Leah. They go through this journey of like actually they're like along, like they say, like little kids play next to each other. They don't actually play with each other. It
Parallel
felt
play.
like, yeah, parallel play. It felt like they were playing next to each other. They're not actually they're not engaged in the same conversation. Like Rachel is in some kind of competition with Leah that she doesn't want to be in, and Leah is in a competition with Rachel that Rachel doesn't want to be in, and they're playing this like parallel play and not actually meeting in any kind of conversation.
Stuck in our own struggles. But when we open to actually hearing the cries of our sister, right? Hearing the pain, it resonates. It opens us up in a totally different way.
Yeah, and it's interesting in reading about them. One of the things you mentioned to me was like being aware of different kinds of infertility that people can go through. Because it's interesting that in their story, there's really different kinds of infertility that happen even within the same woman. Like Leah is seemingly infertile in the beginning, because it says that Hashem opens her womb because she wasn't beloved by Yaakov. So she seems to have started out with some sort of like like inherent infertility, and then she becomes very fertile, and then she stops being able to have children, and then things reopen later. Rachel seems to be having a different kind of issue, which is like also some kind of spiritual blockage, it would seem, because when she goes to Yaakov and asks for children, he's like, what am I, God? And he doesn't say like, pray to God just so you'll be gifted with children. He says, am I God that like prevented you from having children? Meaning Yaakov's assumption is that she's being actively prevented from having children for some kind of reason. And then you mentioned to me that there are just so many different kinds of infertility that people are not always aware of.
Yeah. Never imagined.
Do you work with that like in your work also? Like,
I work with it in my work. I work with it with myself. It's time to go to bed. I will come up for a snuggle when I'm done. There are women who are infertile because they are simply not married, right? And we don't often think of that as infertility, but for women who are committed to a Torah lifestyle, many of them are not going to, most of them, many, there are different choices that people make, are not going to have kids without being married. And it's a tremendous pain that they carry. And it's been heart opening to me to be able to recognize that and hold space for those sisters' pain. There's medical infertility. I know that I had to actively prevent myself from getting pregnant because of the different medications that I was on. And it's not the typical infertility that people are used to. And it's yeah, it becomes very, very complicated because it's, on the one hand, it's a choice, but at the same time, you don't really have a choice in the matter. You have to take care of the mother's health and functionality first and foremost. But through my own journey and through the work that I do, it's all this practice of expanding consciousness of different people's struggles and what it looks like and what it feels like. And oh, the world needs so much compassion, so much sisterly love and support.
I often struggle with this. Like, how do people who aren't struggling with this be supportive of people around us? I always like find myself kind of debating, do you just like change the subject? Do you just not talk, like, because it's like like people in my own family who are not, haven't been able to get married and have that kind of infertility that you're describing. I have friends who've, many friends who've struggled with primary infertility or secondary infertility. And I always like, is it something to like, I don't know, like when you're watching Rachel and Leah, you feel like they're both kind of struggling with this and there's like such a long time until they're actually able to like really have compassion for one another. Like, are there things that people, I would usually I say like, there are almost infinite things to do wrong in most situations and very few things to do right. Like, what is like I think it's easier to start with like, what would be like the wrong thing to do? Because like, I feel like probably I put my foot in my mouth more often than not. Like, what is the wrong way to show love and compassion in that situation? Not that there's like, hard and fast rules, but I imagine like,
I could write a book.
You can think of funny stories.
There are a lot of examples of what not to do. I'm not going to start listing examples of.
Okay. Fair enough. Wrong question.
But what I will say, because I've talked at a few different settings on this topic, and there is no one right or wrong thing to say or to do. I myself have put my foot in my mouth in different situations because every person experiences it differently. We never know where someone is holding. But first of all, give ourselves compassion that we're probably going to say the wrong thing to someone at some point. If we have the privilege of knowing that we said the wrong thing to someone, take the opportunity to clarify, to just apologize. Realize that what I said was insensitive and I did not mean to be hurtful. Please know that I love you. And then I always follow it up. Are you comfortable with me adding you to my list of people that I'm praying for?
Mm,
Right?
that's
Expand our
nice.
circle of prayer. I can't, there's nothing that I can say or do. I don't know. There's nothing that I can say in the moment to make it better, because I don't believe that there's nothing that we can do. It's part of what I do. I work with women and help release tension and find safety and support within ourselves and deepen our connection to Hashem and open ourselves up to life.
Mm.
The life that Hashem has in mind for us. So I do think that there are things that we can do to make change. It takes time. It takes
But it
consistency.
probably won't be online for the
But it's not
supermarket
going to be
checkout.
it's not going to be sitting at the park, you know. um, but be able to know going into this world that we are going to say the wrong thing to the person to someone at some point, and be able to forgive ourselves and I know for myself, I always practice when people say stuff to me, um, they're just trying to connect. They're just trying to connect. And I can offer that line to myself as well when I accidentally say the wrong thing. I was just trying to connect.
I like that. That's really nice. Okay, so I want to ask you this. You know, when we were studying, one of the things that we studied with, primarily starting out actually with Leah, when Leah is having her first round of children, she's always seeing Hashem's hand in her life, but something about the names that she's giving really feels like she's appreciating her children only as a means to another end, you know, as like an instrument to get what she really wants. And then really, I think that her great like development is seen when she ultimately decides to name Yehuda. You know, she says, now I'm going to thank God, meaning she decides to focus on what she has been blessed with and not what she lacks. And then you see kind of with Rachel that she's going through this process where the names are also like instrumental. When she's naming Bilhah's children, it's like Naphtali, like I'm beating, like this baby is helping me to beat my sister. And and then finally, like she also comes to this tikkun, this like completion, this correction. When Yosef is born, she just says like, "Thank you, Hashem. You've taken away my shit. You know, please, Hashem, give me another child." She's in an actual conversation with Hashem, and not just like seeing what Hashem is giving her as an instrument to get like what she really wants, like you know, to kind of navigate into what she's trying to get to, which is really what Yaakov seemed to have been wanting, like encouraging her to do. Um, so I'm curious to hear, like in your journey, um, like what, how to feel it, like how did prayer play a role in that journey in struggling with what our mothers struggled with?
Hmm. It's the attitude of gratitude, right? So when anyone who has been dealing with an ongoing health issue knows that you walk into a doctor's office and one of the first things is, where's the pain? What's the
Oh
problem?
my gosh, yeah.
Right? So what's the problem? Where's the pain? Describe it to me, right? And so we literally are conditioned to seek out what's wrong, right? And even in between doctor's appointments, okay, what's the sensation? What's the sensation of pain? And maybe this is the piece of information that I need in order to unlock the whatever it is that's going on. We literally condition ourselves to seek out what is wrong.
That is so true.
And so what happens when we start practicing Gratitude, right? Modani, I am grateful. Well, what am I grateful for? What can I think of? Ooh, okay, let me start thinking about that. And what happens when we start having an attitude of gratitude, right? When we start seeking out the things that are good in my life, we literally train our nervous system, our consciousness, to be looking for the good in our lives. So one of the big changes that I made is where am I okay? I'm going to invite everyone. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Okay? Get comfortable in your seat. Maybe take a breath. Where do I feel okay in my body right now? I'm not going to go ahead and assume that anyone feels good. If you do, awesome. But where do I feel okay in my body right now? And if you found a place in your body that feels okay, I'm going to invite you to write in the chat. Where do you feel okay? Right. I know that when I first started this, I think I said my hair. No, my hair actually hurt. You know when your hair is in a ponytail for too long, and then it like pulls funny. So I think it was my fingernails. That was like the only part of my body that wasn't actively hurting me. Right. But then I focused on that. Okay, but I found a place, right? I could focus on every other part of me that was really, really hurting me, or I could focus on my fingernails, and my fingernails were defco okay. And then what? Invite my breath, right? And breath pulsates, it flows, right? It's never, you can't hold it or we will die, right? There's constant movement with breath. So I would focus on the part of me that feels okay, and then invite this flow of breath. And really the breath is Hashem is breathing us, right? It's not me that's doing the breathing.
Wait, can you say that again for everybody?
Yeah,
I feel like I caught that, and then I'm still thinking about how great my elbow feels, but this is some other people might be thinking about their quads. They saw that one.
We got toes, we have arms and chest and hands.
Baruch Hashem, if you put
legs
together
and
all
feet.
the women here, we might have one body.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I want to go back to that sentence that you just said, because that really like went right over here for me. Okay,
so
I'm listening to it again.
Let's go for a moment into a little bit of the biomechanics of how breathing works. I cannot play this game right now.
But Tanya, you're hilarious.
He's making a very sad puppy dog face right now.
You're a much better mom than me. I just locked the door.
I don't have a door.
I was like, good luck, guys. Fend for yourself. It's the world's a jungle.
So the biomechanics of breathing, our primary breathing muscle is our diaphragm. Okay, our diaphragm is located just below, right at the bottom of the ribs. And it goes all the way around the body, 360 degrees. It's this double dome shaped muscle. Okay, so this is the diaphragm. Okay, this is the edge of it where it's connected to our ribs. And when we inhale, the diaphragm lowers, creating space for the lungs to expand and fill with air. And when we exhale, the diaphragm comes back up, right? So when the diaphragm lowers, what's actually happening is that the pressure inside the lungs lowers, right? And atmospheric pressure is greater than the pressure inside of our lungs. So we're basically creating this vacuum where air is being pushed into us. So my favorite embodied Torah is Hashem is constantly surrounding us with this gift of breath. He is air pressure, right? He is trying to push it into us. What is our work? We don't take breath, right? That's taking breath. We don't want to be breathing like that, right? Anyone who's done any kind of basic breath work awareness, we know we don't want to be breathing, right? We want to be breathing, letting the diaphragm do the work. Why? Because then we lower the pressure, air flows into us. Our work is in emptying ourselves out. Our work is emptying out the old stale air that's no longer nurturing us, that's no longer nourishing us, that's no longer serving us, turning ourselves into a vessel to receive. Our job, our work in this world is not to take, but rather to learn how to empty out, really turning ourselves into a vessel to receive.
Wow. So that's so interesting. Sorry, I need to like breathe for a second. So it's like what like okay, so it's breathing is not I always think about breathing as taking in air. Breathing is not taking in air. It's getting rid of what's unneeded to make space inside for Hashem to refill you with the fresh, nourishing, clean air that we need. Wow.
As
That's
when
like
I
every spiritual work is like opening up and just like waiting for Hashem to fill that space. That's incredible that your body actually embodies that idea.
yeah.
Wow.
So as someone who specializes in working with people with trauma, working with the breath is very, very complicated, can be very, very complicated, because working with the breath can bring up all sorts of very intense feelings and emotions and sensations. And so always we start with the exhale.
Mm.
Work is always starting off with what can I let go of? What can I release out of me? And just let the in-breath come. Don't worry about taking. Let yourself be in a place of being able to receive. It's just yesterday just yesterday my father was here for Shabbat and he's like, Ariella, I think I need to learn a little bit of this yoga stuff that you're doing. I'm in pain. I could use some.
Wow.
And I just did a little bit of breath work and he's a surgeon. He's Western medicine.
Wow.
And he was blown away at how much deeper of a breath he was able to take after he focused first on that exhale.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to actually side point to something because I imagine that there are some people here who, when they saw the on the flyer that you're a yoga teacher, I imagine there were like a few raised eyebrows because I think that for a lot of people, yoga connects with something pagan, something that's definitely not it's not mentioned in the Bible. It's not biblical. You're a Torah teacher and bringing this sort of Eastern, say not obviously Jewish, practice and applying that to Torah. Like what, why, why yoga and like, and how can that relate to Torah considering that it's like source is not really from, let's say, a biblical mindset?
That is an excellent question. I resisted learning yoga because I didn't
Hmm.
exactly for that reason. I was studying in Migdalos and I just wanted to immerse all of my time and energy in learning Torah. And all the answers are in Torah. I don't need to look outside until I didn't have any choices, right? Um, I literally didn't know how to walk. I literally did not know how to, I could not walk by myself. So people would say, just go for a walk and you'll feel better. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I know you won't believe it looking at me now, but there was a chapter of my life where I literally did not know how to be able to be in my body, how to strengthen my body, how to recover from the surgeries that I had to go through, to be able to just walk. And I was very, very careful with who I studied with. Um, my initial yoga teacher was a wonderful woman named Esther Alfasi, who studied yoga and was a Baal Tshuva, came back to Judaism. She went through a whole process, her and her husband, of really clarifying what is the what is the pure what is connecting us to Hashem, right? And I think that this is part of the process of the ingathering of go lay down. I cannot focus with you. I cannot talk with you right now. Thank you for your patience, oh wise mothers and sisters.
It's a whole class about motherhood. It would not be complete without actual mothering in the interview.
That I think that part of the ingathering of the nations is that we were spread out to the four corners of the earth, and we're coming back, and we're bringing with us all the wisdom, all the ancient wisdom, and going through a process of sifting. Where is the source of emet, right? And I know
emet is truth.
Yeah. And there is the benefits of this practice are undeniable. The scientific research on the benefits of these practices are undeniable. But when you break it down, it all exists within Torah. It's there in Chassidut. It's in the more hidden aspects of our traditions, but it's there. And as we're coming back to the land, and as we're coming back from the four corners and actually talking to all of our brothers and sisters who have been exposed to different societies, different cultures, different traditions, and we're all coming together, there is a process of uncovering that kernel, that light of truth that exists, that beauty that exists within our own tradition. So I all of this somatic work. I mean, we're just the rabbi was just talking about the practices in the Beit Hamikdash, right, in the temple, and the practices of joy during Simchat Beit HaShoeva, right? I'm gonna let you translate that.
And like the water libation festival on the Festival of Tabernacles,
right?
So like how I did that?
Even impressive. So, right, the ultimate expressions of joy took place at that festival, right, where you had rabbis literally standing on their heads, standing on their thumbs, doing all these different physical dancing and practices that are kind of very reminiscent of some of the yoga poses that we might recognize. So I'm always very careful. I don't like describing myself as a yoga teacher, right? I'm a certified yoga therapist, right? I have a certification as a yoga therapist. I have studied, I have done practicum work, I have done mentorship, but really what I am is an embodied Torah educator, and I use yoga as a tool. I have no desire to teach anyone yoga, right? For me, that's an important distinction. And I think that there are more and more religious people who are deeply connected to Torah and to Hashem, and who are practicing yoga. I always say I'm practicing Judaism, and yoga is just a tool that I use.
Okay, I think that was very illuminating. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm taking us back to your prayer journey. You mentioned, like, what's so incredible about Rachel is she's like our eternally praying mother. She's like out there on the mountain, like just calling out for us. And it's her, something that's so incredible about the story is that with Leah and Rachel, it's like their outcomes don't really create their eternal identities. Leah worked her whole life to be the beloved wife. And in this life, she didn't really get there, but she's like next to Yaakov for eternity. And Rachel didn't get to really like actualize her motherhood fully, but she was buried on the side of the road so that we would be like passing by her and she could look over us and cry for us. So I'm curious like how you connect to that, and you
Oh,
mentioned that also that your connection with Rachel also connects with the shofar that we're going to start hearing throughout this month.
yeah. My prayer practice, I'm a person that I have to go to shul. Ever since
Shul synagogue.
I have to
Mhm.
go to synagogue, I have to pray with other people. Praying on my own is maybe it's my ADD brain. I get very, very easily distracted by lots of things. And I do really, really well in structure. And I've been praying with in synagogue for many years since I was a kid. Um, and and part of what I love about the that containment of that structure is that I can sort of lose myself, meaning lose the ego and just be a vessel of receiving light and expressing light, um, being a channel for God's light in this world. Oh, that's the prayer. When it's beyond the intellectual, right? That Rachel mevakal banea, she cries for her children when there are no words. It's those deep tears that come from the depths, right? Um, I'll share that. Yeah, I'm just gonna share.
I love when you share.
So I live right next to Beit Lechem, right next to Bethlehem. I live right the window that I stand um, in the synagogue literally faces. I mean, obviously it faces Jerusalem, but Bethlehem it sits right in between where we are and where and Jerusalem. And it was how many years ago now since we moved into our building? I don't even know. I don't know what time is anymore. But when we first moved into the building, um, I remember it being it was a very, very powerful experience. So much anticipation being in this beautiful and holy space. And I have a background in theater. I learned to sing on a stage. I know that I have a good
Wow.
voice. And we started prayers and everyone is singing. I pray in a synagogue where we're all about the singing and very, very lively, passionate and authentic prayer. And and I remember being a little bit nervous to let myself just sing. And there was like that critical intellectual mind was like analyzing, like, is it too loud? I don't know how the sound travels in this new building. Maybe it's not modest for me to. And all of a sudden, this voice came from beyond, um, saying, this isn't just your voice. Those aren't just your tears. You need to let them out for me.
Wow.
And I let Mama Rachel's tears and voice flow through me, and I could feel all the women behind me also just letting ourselves. It's not about me, and it's about really making myself into a vessel to just be a conduit of connection to the land, of connection to the people, of connection to Hashem. And that's really what the shofar is, right? The shofar is this vessel of communication. On the one hand, we have the mitzvah, right? To hear it, but we also have the mitzvah to blow it.
Mm.
right? So we are both making sound through it. It's us communicating to God, but it's also us being open to hearing. What is it that we're hearing? Are we hearing Hashem communicating through us? Or is it that we're open to hearing what our cries are, or what our sisters' cries are?
Wow.
To hearing that, to hearing those sounds that are beyond words, right? The brokenness, the all of it. It's all of it, right? Being
Wow.
open to being able to articulate, to make sound, and also be open to hearing it, right? And when we
Wow.
really allow ourselves, ooh, right? Hashem svatai tiftach. Do I go there?
Yes, yes, yes. Let's go there. I want us to go there. And I also want us to, I need to let you go because I feel like I know that I'm like taking up so
I
much of
could
your
go
time.
on.
And we usually go on for an hour. I feel like like everybody, I want to send Tabitha, can you make sure to send us the chat so I can send the chat to Ariella and she can just see like how much I just feel like everyone is enjoying this as much as I am. But like maybe we can like finish with talking about like maybe some kind of exercise that we could do together to prepare ourselves for like now we're going into Elul and we have this like we're working up towards Rosh Hashanah and like all of the prayer that goes into that and getting ready for our new month. Anything that you think would be good for us to like align ourselves physically, spiritually, put that all together as like our work for this time of tshuva. Like how do we come closer? How do we come closer to Hashem, come closer to our own neshama integrating into our body properly?
Okay. I'm going to give you a really, really short, there's so many things I want to just share everything, but I'm going to contain. um,
Maybe like an exercise that we could practice also like on our own when like to
we're
help
going to do
us.
it. We're going to do it together right now. And this is totally something I'll send you a little picture that demonstrates it so that everyone can continue practicing it on their own.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm just going to do it instead of explaining it. Okay.
Okay. Should we copy you? Should we
Yep.
copy you
Gonna
or
do
should
it
we
with
just
me.
watch?
Okay. So
Okay.
we're going to take our hands to either side of our heads, right? Just above our ears, and visualize the space that's between your hands, expanding with your inhale. Filling with light with every breath, creating spaciousness. And it's okay if you're not feeling anything or struggling to imagine. This is an invitation without any expectations. Holding our head, holding our thoughts, holding the space between our ears, and offering a quality of spaciousness, of light, of expansiveness, space to be. And when you're ready, if it feels okay for you, bring one hand to the back of your head and one hand to the front. And again, we're going to take a few breaths, visualizing the space between our hands expanding. Pulsating with our breath, allowing the back of our head to be supported by the hand, allowing the front of the head to be supported by our other hand. Maybe confusing our brain with a tiny little smile as we offer spaciousness of light to flow between our hands. And when you're ready, if it feels okay for you, bring your hand down to your heart. So one hand on the forehead, one hand on the heart. And again, we'll take a few breaths here, inviting quality of spaciousness, flow, and connection in the space between our hands. Again, maybe confusing our brain with a little smile as we offer some widening in the lips and the eyes, Opening up that path between the head and the heart. And after taking a few breaths here, when you're ready, and if it feels okay for you, bring the hand from your head down to your belly, right? That second brain that I mentioned before. And just like we've done before, take a few breaths here, or receive a few breaths here. Maybe even receiving them with the quality of joyful gratitude. Allowing the pulsation of the breath to flow in the space between our hands, flowing with Hashem's light and love. And then take the hand from the heart to the back of the head. Inviting a little bit of spaciousness throughout the spine as we let our head be supported by our hand, and maybe even let our belly soften into our other hand. Inviting the breath to flow in the space between our hands. Allowing the fullness of breath available to you without causing any tension. And let your hands rest wherever they feel comfortable. Maybe your heart, maybe your legs, maybe your cheeks, maybe your arms. Maybe confusing your brain with a little smile as we focus on something specific that we're grateful for right now in this moment. Maybe something about ourselves that we're grateful for. Maybe something that we're grateful for in someone else. And when you're ready, if it feels okay, let your hands widen out to the sides, palms turning up, inviting a quality of widening throughout our arms, our heart, our lips, our eyes. Joyful gratitude for all of the abundance of blessings that Hashem is pouring into our lives. May we merit to be open to receiving all of the good that already exists, that Hashem wants to give us. Let your arms wrap around you. And I'm taking a look at all these beautiful faces. And as you're hugging yourself, as we're hugging ourselves, I don't know why I said it like that, as we are hugging ourselves, I hope that we all feel that we are embraced by each and every one of us here. Knowing that Hashem is holding us, loving us, meeting us in the fields, meeting us exactly where we are, perfectly imperfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the opportunity to feel connected to you guys.
Thank you, Ariella. Thank you so much. And there's how we feel like this great moment of connection. How do we stay connected with you?
You can find me on the internet. I have a website, Yoga with Ariella, Facebook, feel free to be in touch. I work mostly one-on-one with women, but I do have some opportunities for group classes that will hopefully be coming in the following months. And I do work online with people as well.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is just amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share all that information also afterwards. And so I'm just sure that I'm expressing everybody's feeling that this was just somebody just wrote in the chat. This was like, thank you for sharing this holy time with us. I really feel like that's what it was. And there's so much more to continue. Ariella, can you promise to come back to us and do another session one time?
It would be my pleasure.
Because I feel like we've just started to scratch the surface. So I'm going to just wrap up and wish everybody a Chodesh Tov, a beautiful new month of Elul, and it should just be a month of tremendous tshuva, tremendous return to everything that we know that Hashem has in store for us, everything, that we know Hashem wants us to become. And I'm just blessed to be embarking on this journey of tshuva with all of you guys, with this beautiful community. So I'm going to wish everybody a good month and a good night. And Ariella, thank you again. And Tabitha, thank you. Please send me these chats because I know that Ariella will be. Well, there was a moment before when you said I didn't have that many friends, and then somebody wrote on. I didn't catch you. Somebody wrote on the group. Now you have 58. Since then, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and you have many, many, many friends, Baruch Hashem. But now you have 58 more.
Yay!
Okay. So thank you. Bye, everybody.